Hey, it's Dave Chapin. Welcome to the Wolf Sports YouTube channel. The 2025 NFL MVP is seemingly coming down to Matthew Stafford or Drake Maye, but should it? Let's get this out of the way. It seems that almost every year, the discourse around the MVP race is ridiculous. Often, the voters definitely listen to all the noise out there and make bad decisions. MVP winners have been very debatable, at best, in many of the recent years. As one example, I thought Tom Brady was robbed of winning MVP in 2021 with the Bucs. As a reminder for that year, Brady led the NFL in 4 of the major passing categories: attempts, completions, passing yards, and passing touchdowns, joining Peyton Manning and Drew Brees as the third player to do so. Brady accounted for 78.2% of his team's offensive yards that season, behind only Josh Allen, led the NFL in total touchdowns with 45, 3 ahead of Allen, and a chunk of his 12 interceptions weren't on him if you actually watch the games, which is problem number one. I'm not sure how much the voters truly watch. Even so, Brady's 12 interceptions were the fewest in NFL history among top 10 seasons in terms of pass attempts. Next closest was 15 interceptions. Why didn't Brady win MVP? Was it because a lot of people said he was done as an elite player and they couldn't have been more wrong? Also, Josh Allen was arguably robbed of at least one more MVP throughout his career before finally winning it last season. I think it's fair to say that happened because the mainstream narrative was that Allen was a terrible prospect, a stupid selection by the Bills, a certain bust, etc. Some of the people who said those crazy things about Allen's play as a prospect and early in his career were literally voting for MVP, and not the type of people to quickly admit they were wrong and give Allen an MVP nod. It took a while until it became overwhelmingly undeniable. We're seeing the same thing happen with who I believe should be the 2025 NFL MVP, Broncos quarterback Bo Nix. At least everyone agreed Allen had a rocket arm and some natural talent, even if almost everyone strongly asserted he'd be a disaster in the NFL. For Nix, it was even worse. The consensus profiled him as a so-called low-ceiling player and a likely backup, either ignoring, not actually watching at all, or simply not knowing what to look for in quarterbacks. I'm not sure which of the three is worse. Nix has a laser, is exceptional outside the pocket, and throws at a bunch of different arm angles. This was evident during his college career for the very small number of people who knew what they're talking about. This season, the Broncos quarterback has led 7 game-winning drives, including 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. He's great on third downs and in the red zone. You can see more about Nix's clutch play in a video we did from earlier this season, but to hone in on the MVP case, I'll focus on his outing against the Packers, when he had 302 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air, while causing headaches all afternoon for a Green Bay defense that tried to get after him but couldn't. Nix didn't take a sack, was evading pressure all day, and throwing dots to all areas of the field. I want to pause on the not taking a sack thing, as this is a definite MVP-worthy stat. Many people don't realize how important a quarterback can be for that in terms of getting rid of the ball. Not taking sacks is critical to keep your team in favorable positions. Sacks are like penalties and get you behind the sticks. Nix has taken the fewest sacks in the league among full-time starters, and his sack percentage also leads the NFL. I know what some of you might be thinking. I heard Nix plays behind an elite offensive line. The reality is Nix has elevated the play of that unit. They went from allowing 100 sacks in Russell Wilson's 2 seasons to Nix taking just 22 sacks this season and 24 as a rookie. He's also elevated his receivers. The group has accounted for a ton of lost yardage due to drops, but Nix gets the most of them, including number 1 receiver Courtland Sutton having his best 2 NFL seasons with the young quarterback at the helm. Elevating the play around you and making teammates better, from the offensive line to the receivers, is the definition of valuable for an NFL star. And now just to focus on a couple of plays from the Week 17 Christmas win at Kansas City. Skeptics want to say the Broncos only put up 20 points. Sometimes those low-scoring types of games happen, but Nix's play was a big reason the Broncos won and avoided disaster that night. In the third quarter, Nix showed his schoolyard playmaking ability with a run on a quarterback draw, where he lowers his shoulder at the goal line. And you can see before the play he makes a couple of calls at the line of scrimmage, taking on a defense with veterans like Nick Bolton and Chris Jones, showing the cerebral part of his game. Then in the fourth quarter, touchdown obviously gives you a much better chance to win a tie game against a backup quarterback late. And Kelce did push the Denver defense, all things considered, including on the final drive. No one is open, but Nix and RJ Harvey make a play, with the rookie running back displaying his awareness to get open for his quarterback. Nix scrambling whips it right in between the numbers while on the run. Though not at the level of Brock Purdy, who leads the NFL with an absurd conversion rate, Nix is above average for keeping drives alive on 3rd and 4th downs, where his playmaking shines even if the degree of difficulty with the receiving group is higher, which should be a factor in accounting for most valuable player. And in the red zone, Nix, again, easy to say, not as good of a supporting cast as other top quarterbacks, has a stellar touchdown to interception ratio. Isn't it odd how the media MVP hype train was going crazy for Baker Mayfield, coming through late in games early in the season for the Bucs, yet Nix did it all season and never got any love? Respectfully, especially if you don't watch all the games or don't think for yourself, you might think the idea of Bo Nix being the 2025 NFL MVP is nuts. Let's compare Nix's 2025 campaign with Lamar Jackson's second MVP from the 2023 season. Lamar finished with 29 total touchdowns, 24 passing, 7 interceptions, 3,678 passing yards, and 821 yards on the ground. Compare that with Nix, who had 30 total touchdowns, 25 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, though not all on him, and not as much rushing production as Jackson, but as many rushing scores with 5. It should be noted that Jackson rested in Week 18, but Nix had similar numbers through 16 games. The Ravens were more dominant as a team, but Jackson had just 1 fourth-quarter comeback compared to 5 for Nix, and 7 game-winning drives too. Plus, Baltimore had the league's #1 defense that season. Denver's defense certainly has many highs and can get after the quarterback, but the 2023 Ravens took the ball away over twice as much, and I think it's fair to say was a better unit. Meanwhile, Nix had to come through and did when the defense did struggle. Overall, when you stack them up, the seasons might even be favorable for Nix when it comes to most valuable. The bottom line is Nix's numbers alone constitute an MVP-level season. We just saw that's the case 2 years ago. Now briefly to the 2 guys with an actual realistic shot of being named MVP. First, Stafford. I mentioned in the middle of the season that he's someone the media would love to name MVP toward the end of a long career with the Lions and the Rams. His numbers are excellent. He led the NFL in touchdowns, setting a career high in passing scores, but it's difficult to ignore the outings against the Panthers and the Falcons. 2 losses where Stafford had a pick 6, 5 interceptions total, and overall didn't play well. Those losses were obviously costly and might have kept the Rams from winning the NFC West and getting the #1 seed in the NFC. Not being on a team that wins the division and winning MVP is a rare occurrence. It last happened when Adrian Peterson did it in 2012. That said, the NFC West is uncommonly stacked in 2025. There's the argument I've seen that Maye would be putting up a volume of better numbers than Stafford if he had Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua with Sean McVay, but I don't really buy that as a cut and dried case. Watch the games and you'll see Josh McDaniels doing an amazing job of getting what's now an extremely underrated supporting cast with a resurgent Stephon Diggs open. The schedule helps, but you can make a case that things have been, quote, easier for Maye than Stafford or any quarterback in the league. Still, Maye's had a super efficient season. He led the NFL in passer rating, and he easily led in yards per attempt at 8.9, behind an in-the-bucket deep ball, and that job McDaniels has done with the offense. Just looking at the passing numbers, Maye has a compelling case. But the Patriots' schedule has been, no exaggeration, one of the easiest in NFL history. Their biggest wins were over the Bills, clearly not up to their usual standards during the regular season, and the Ravens, who puzzlingly went away from Derrick Henry for a game that looked in the bag. That's not to take credit away from Maye and the Patriots for a game where he hung in there, got away with some near interceptions early, he's not alone there, and came through late. It's easy to forget and not take into consideration because many are so fickle, but Maye didn't play well in early season losses to the Raiders and Steelers, and he had just 1 win against a team with an above 500 record. Granted, the strength of schedule for Denver wasn't too challenging either in terms of winning percentage, but behind Nix's clutch play, not just at the end of games, but in the red zone and on third downs, they had wins at Philadelphia, at Houston, against the Packers, and 2 wins over the Chiefs. We all know Kansas City has had a down year, but Patrick Mahomes was in there the first game. The Chiefs still have the heart of a champion, and Nix helping Denver win the extremely challenging AFC West should not be discounted, something many pundits said had no chance of happening. I want to show from inside the NFL Travis Kelce talking to Nix after the Christmas night win at Arrowhead. Kelce spoke super highly of Nix as a rookie, and you can tell how much he respects him by seeking him out after his likely final home game and telling the division rival to go get one.
Oh, what's up, baby? Hey. You're a hell of a competitor, man. You already know I love playing against you every single time, dog. Do your thing, baby, all right? Go get you one, man.
This is a far cry from what you've heard from the so-called experts about Nix. The media loves narratives. Do the MVP moments stack up for Stafford and Maye compared to Nix? What is the criteria for NFL MVP? It's, quote, the award honors a player who had the most valuable season. That says everything. It's not picking who has the best stats, obviously. The eye test should be a big part of it. I saw Nix lead his team to the best record in the league, have stellar performances, not lose his team any games, and lead 7 game-winning drives, including 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. For example, Nix led Denver to 33 fourth-quarter points in an epic comeback against the Giants when the defense really struggled for the most part. The second-year quarterback had those several game-winning drives with a more limited supporting cast compared to 1 each for Stafford and Maye. And in terms of those top-level performances, not even in crunch time, Nix against the Packers was arguably the best performance of the Nix, Maye, Stafford trio. If this was maybe a few decades ago, Nix would certainly be thought of as a potential MVP frontrunner, but collective narratives and discourse, including all the haters on social media and people who have no clue what they're talking about, has gotten worse. I'm not even sure the Broncos have enough on offense for a deep playoff run, to be honest, which speaks to the job Nix has done as a leader on offense to help them get the top seed. And it's interesting how dominant Nix has been late in games, sometimes when he has to go tempo and just sort of take over. The point must be made that Denver's preferred style of play isn't that, and Nix doesn't try to do too much given the state of the team, from receiving core to a strong defense. Don't get me wrong, Stafford and Maye had MVP caliber years for sure. 46 touchdowns for Stafford, fantastic, he'll probably win it. But the supposed limited choice between them, in addition to Nix, guys like Christian McCaffrey, Trevor Lawrence, and even clutch Caleb Williams, don't get any consideration at all either. Doesn't seem right. Do you guys agree that MVP races and the discourse around them has become a bit crazy in recent years? What do you think about this season's race? Feel free to let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.